In the new liturgy, there is no call for reverence, and often one encounters the most frightful irreverence, most notably the desecration of the Eucharist through communion in the hand. The priests claim that it is within their power to redefine reverence. In the traditional liturgy, only clerics in major orders, deacons, priests, and bishops were allowed to touch the sacred host. This not because there is anything wrong with the other parts of the body, and not that the priests are holier than the lay people, though they are supposed to be. The rubrics, which have to do with the sacred species, are inspired by the recognized obligation of addressing and surrounding the Eucharistic Christ with all the reverence and devotion of which poor sinful Christians were capable. The true inspiration of the entire conciliar revolution can be ascertained in this abominable desecration of the Blessed Sacrament, which is now the custom of the churches. Surely nothing pleases Satan more than to see the body of Christ degraded in the name of liberty. A typical sign of this liberal attitude is to be observed in the fact that the clergy have dispensed women, and women have dispensed themselves, from covering their heads in church, and presumably the rest of their persons, even during the new liturgy. The excuse given is that God is not concerned about what we wear, but about what we are, or something to that effect. St. Paul saw the matter differently. Evidently, some of the women tested this idea in the church at Corinth. Paul made a profound theological issue of the matter. Quotations. Now I praise you, brethren, that in all things you are mindful of me, and keep my ordinances as I have delivered them to you. But I would have you know that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Christ is God. Every man praying or prophesying with his head covered disgraceth his head. But every woman praying or prophesying with her head not covered disgraceth her head. For it is all one as if she were shaven. For if a woman be not covered, let her be shorn. But if it be a shame to a woman to be shorn or made bald, let her cover her head. From the first letter to the Corinthians, the 11th chapter, the 2nd to the 6th verses. The conciliarists have always claimed that their general effort in the liturgical reform has been to return to the spirit and modes of the early church, exactly as the Protestant revolutionists claim to do, without troubling to ascertain what the early church was like. In this excerpt, we have an unmistakable instruction as to both the discipline and the custom of the early church, described and insisted upon by the great apostle. Evidently, the abuse of women's coming to church with their heads uncovered had gotten to be a sufficient problem to merit Paul's correction. The apostle leaves no doubt that women are to have their heads covered in church. For them not to do so is an act of most unbecoming disrespect. Why then have the bishops and priests encouraged Catholic women to violate this custom? Before the council, women never complained about the rule, never questioned it even, nor took offense at it. Traditionally, the women of the Church have been one of its great strengths because of their true, unself-conscious piety and their patient instruction of their children. It was because of Catholic mothers that there were priests and sisters. In subverting the humility of Catholic women, the bishops and priests have struck a body blow at the mystical Christ.